when you've been married a long time, you've been through a few of these.
Yes,
So
yes.
You can have a positive feel about it or a negative feel about it, but to us, it doesn't matter because it works. I mean, you take what you can and use it to make what you have better.
Yes, I like that. You put it into action. So this has actually happened with Sally and I. She knows I'm trying to do something because she reads the book as well. The other day, she was walking through the living room. I was sitting in one of my chairs, and she walked through, and I said, "Man, dinner was just amazing." Have I told you this story? She goes, "Dinner." I said, "Dinner was amazing," and she stops. She turns around. She goes, "Listen, I know what you're trying to do, right? I get it." But she goes, "All I did was take the brisket that you worked on 12 to 18 hours on, and I took a can of beans and I put them into a pot. And I heated all of this food up and I gave it to you and you stuffed it in your face." Right? No, those are not the exact words, but that's what I was picking up on. She didn't say that exactly. But she was like, "Look, I want to say thank you." You know, saying thank you, but you could have said, instead of making an incredible meal that she didn't really make, she was like, "Just say thank you for heating up meal. It was nice dinner tonight." So sometimes I was doing some of the things over the top, but she does laugh about that I have been trying. Anybody else? Any of you other guys tried some of these things?
I've tried to share more of my sometime.
No, you're in.
I've tried to share more of like if I have bad days or good days, rather than my natural instinct of not wanting to talk about it.
Okay.
I've tried to take her through a play-by-play of like how it got bad or what was bad about it, or if I'm venting or whatever.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Good. So that openness, you're working on coming closer and being open. Okay.
I tried peacemaking. It was great. Wonderful.
Did you say I'm sorry?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Do I need to buy you a shirt? I'm sorry. I mean, just walk around with it on. It's like, I'm the guy.
Since I'm retired, she's still working. She comes home from work, and I say, "How was your day, dear?" You know, and I listen to what she's done today, and I smile, and it's just really peaceful around our house now.
Let's hear it first.
Yeah.
We're going to get there in just a second. Anybody else? Anybody else? Have you tried any of these things? Well, let me ask you this, guys. When you read the book and there was those lists, and what I'm going to do for next week, I'm going to put it into the categories that he wrote in, so you'll know the chapter he's talking about. I'm going to write down those things on a piece of paper so I can hand you. And because he says, try this, say this, try this moment, say this, to get this kind of response, a positive response to get off the horrible cycle and into the recharging cycle, right? And so I'm going to try to do that for you. But we need to try these things. To be really honest, some of them when I read them are pretty dumb. And it looks like a very generic, really basic. And I kind of ask myself several times, does this even work? Like doing this, does it really work? And then I put it into action. So I asked my wife, I said, has there been positive changes in our marriage lately? And what did you say?
Yes.
Absolutely yes. I have noticed the reciprocation of it. And it's been very positive and extremely good. And guess what I want to do more of now? I want to do more of these dumb things I thought that were stupid and ridiculous, right? Because I'm like, wow, does this work? The answer is yes. And now I'm feeling some of the benefits. And, okay, now in the book, he talks about this, right? He goes, you're not trying to do it to get something out of your spouse, right? He talks about that. But I want to do it because that she is my spouse. So I am going to store in her love tank. I am going to take the time and try to see things from her perspective. I am going to be open and honest and talk to her about the things. I am going to be loyal to her. And she knows, and I've been really trying hard on this, she will know that she's the only one. And that she is beautiful. And that she is the only person I will ever look at. I mean, I'm going out of my way to say, I want you to know this. And then I try to exalt her. We celebrated something really cool last week. The Girl Page family, really good week, okay? And so we kind of celebrated some of that. And so I've been trying to do those things. Let me hear this, the side of, has any of the wives in here noticed the difference in their husbands? Positive or negative? Let's not go negative. Staying good today. Staying good. Huh? Yeah, that's.
Fill me with confidence.
If you don't want to share, that's fine, and I get it. And it might be because, as men, we're sitting in this room and we're talking about it, but we're not putting it into action. And so I really want you guys to put these things into action, into love unconditionally, and to pour some of these things into your wives, because it does help. And you may be married for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, and you're sitting there thinking, John, it's just, we understand each other. My parents were married, Sally, how long was it before? Like 25 years or so, and they figured out love languages. That's when that all came out, and so they did this study on love languages. My dad was like, oh. And they were married for 20 years. And he just figured out the reason my mom does gifts all the time, and receiving gifts is huge, giving a gift is huge, it's because her love language is gift giving. So my dad was like, hey, at Christmas time, mom's going to spend money. It was driving him nuts. Stop spending money, and everybody doesn't need a gift. Well, for her, that's the way she showed love in response. You see what I'm saying? So you could be married a long time, put some of these things in action, and marriage might become rejuvenated a little bit. So,
I feel like ours is becoming
because of some of this, is he putting some of this in action?
all the time.
All the time. He's the poster boy for us. I'll put a picture up of him on the screen and just.
You work out of town a lot, don't you?
Jay.
You have a point, Jay.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Well, I'm just verifying that because I saw him yesterday buying flowers for his wife at Farmers Market.
Come on. Come on.
And he had the jar in his hand, these beautiful flowers, but then I knew it was more to fun to it, and I thought, well, are those for your wife or for your daughter for in the cake? He just looked at me like that was a dumb question. I said, for my wife, of course. She is the one.
You got the all. That's so awesome. Okay, good job. All right. We need to move into another territory, which I'll be really honest. I don't even want to go. If we could stop class right now, I'm okay. I don't even want to teach the rest of this because I don't know what I'm talking about, okay? And then we're going to really just walk through this. So will you just give me some grace when we go through the next little bit? Because I don't understand women at all, okay? And I'm trying to work through this. Did you guys read the chapters 15 and actually chapter 16 as well? Because we're going to go into the first scene. He uses another acronym, I believe that's what it's called. For the guys, it was couple. And guys, the whole point of couple was for us to understand our wives and become closer to our wives, right? And that's what I absolutely loved about it, because when I put it into practice, I mean, some barriers even dropped between Sally and I, and I felt even closer to her. And so what he was able to do for me through couple was to bring me closer to my wife, and that was the whole point. I want you to understand this. When we come into this next part, the world has such an influence on me that I'm nervous to talk about this, because I don't know what your response will be. Oh, I know you love me. I know you, yeah. But what I'm really trying to say, he comes to this from a biblical view, and I'm worried about the worldly view. And I shouldn't be. Like, I'm the first one that shouldn't be. But I am when I come to some of this stuff. So he comes to this acronym. What's the acronym? Chairs. What is it? Yeah, so we have... And I like how he started off in chapter 15, the questions. And we're going to look at that really quick here. So the first one is conquest. And his definition of this is his drive to work and achieve. But when you heard the word conquest, what came to your mind? Did anything else come to your mind? His definition, and we will look at it briefly today. Conquest is his desire to work and achieve. But when you hear the word conquest, is there something else that came to your mind?
I kind of thought of the Wild at Heart book.
The Wild at Heart book.
An adventure.
Yeah?
A man wants an adventure.
Yeah? Okay. What about you ladies?
It sounded very domineering, like
Sound-
conquering something.
Okay, yeah, and I think he actually brought that up in the chapter when he said, man, it sounds like me club woman drag behind men, right? But he's like, hey, that's not what I'm talking about at all. So yeah, that domineering. Then what's the next one? Hierarchy. So talk to me about that. So we have hierarchy. What do you hear when you hear that? Good, bad, ugly, what?
I think it's more like your role in the family.
Okay, so like,
Protector of the family.
yeah.
You're the provider.
So his definition of it is being, I'm just looking at my book, and you may have your book with you. His desire to protect and provide. So we have that desire to protect and to provide. Is there anything that kind of came to your mind when you heard, man, hierarchy? Wives? Anything? A is authority. His desire to serve and to lead. Did you hear, or does that come across differently for you when you hear that word hierarchy? Again, his definition is to desire to serve and to lead. Or sorry, authority.
Everything on here,
Mhm.
because we are so infiltrated with the world, it comes across with a negative connotation. At least it does for me. I know he doesn't mean it that way. I know the Bible is not written that way. But like you said, the world comes in, clouds our judgment, colors what we see, and we automatically think negative. And maybe that's because a man is writing this. That's a woman's perspective.
No, it's fine. I was listening. I was hearing. So, how do you feel that a man is writing this?
Well, it's a he that wrote the book.
No, I know. We're not defining man and woman. I'm saying. What I'm trying to say, like, how does that make you feel when it's a guy and not a girl writing this? Does that bother you? Does it?
No, I mean, ultimately it doesn't bother me.
Uh-huh.
But men and women do think differently.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when I'm reading something that a man has written, and it's supposed to be about a woman's perspective, it does make me a little leery, because it's not coming. It's just like when I go to the doctor, I would much rather go to a woman doctor than a man doctor, because I think she understands me more than he does. Thank you.
Would it have been easier if his wife had been a co-author?
Maybe. And I'm not negating anything he writes about, because I agree
No,
100%.
no. This is actually good. This is what I want you. When I listened to this, I came to some of these same conclusions. I don't want to use any of these words in front of you, because I feel like someone's going to beat me up after class. Right? It's like, hey, John, can I talk to you for a second? Yeah, and he'd tase me and drag me somewhere. I don't know. But it's because the world has come to us and has drilled into us some of these things. But when he talks about it, I thought, no, there's a reason for what he is talking about. Does anybody else, any of the other wives, any of the other ladies that read this, did you feel like what Sally felt? And it's okay if you did. Yes, I got a 1.
Can I say no?
Yeah, you can say no. Go. Please talk.
Okay, I was kind of surprised how well he wrote about the woman's side being a man. So I just feel like if he got all of that right from his perspective, you're noticing about his wife, maybe this stuff is all right too, and it's just not stuff that I've ever realized.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, yeah, if you got all that stuff right, this is probably right too. And maybe dragging him out to the inside into know he's, I don't know. I probably could find like a better way to maybe just say it so it's not so off-putting.
Right,
But
right.
I still feel like it's probably more honest stuff that maybe you don't always.
And I appreciate it. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's make sure we understand what's going on. If I just put these words up there and you didn't read, you're probably put off a little bit. But if you read, then you're like, okay, I understand where he's coming from and what he's trying to say. So I appreciate he does have a PhD in this. You know what I mean? It's like he's probably a little smarter on relationships and family because he does have that PhD. You know, this is what he does. He counsels, and he's in ministry, but he also counsels a lot. And so he's done a lot of study. So maybe he has something to say about this. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe we can look at what he's talking about here. He does use this. Is this difficult? And he talks about this in the book in the first chapter. The unconditional respect. What do you guys think about that? I'm really talking. I think
There's a T. There you go.
Just keep going, it's fine. We don't.
There you go.
Doesn't matter. Sorry, I was thinking about how to word it. What do you guys think about that word, unconditional respect? That whole phrase, ladies. Why are you shaking your head? You're not. What? Okay. What do you think about that?
I think it's conditional. I think we all know as Christians, like what we're supposed to think about it, so we can all say that, but
Okay.
I think if this is not the case in my marriage, I just want everyone to know that. But there are women who are beaten and completely disrespected, and how do those women show unconditional respect? You know, or maybe they're just verbally abused, or.
There's a lot of type of abuse going on there, right?
And
You know.
I think in the book, he talks about if your spouse, your wife or your husband is a person of goodwill.
Yep.
So even before he starts talking about unconditional respect, there's a condition on it.
Right.
And like everything he says is kind of, well, assume he doesn't have bad intent, or assume she doesn't have bad intent, well, then automatically there's some conditions on his unconditional respect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think most of us get what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
But what he's saying and what he's saying are not the same thing.
Yes. So yeah, he talks about we have to have that. Even and it's the other way around. In the very beginning of the book, we as men doing unconditional love. It's interesting. We'll jump on that in a heartbeat. Unconditional love, you better do it. Conditional. What happened? And I'm not against what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. And he says it in the book that we have to have, again, unconditional love. I need to look at my wife, even though, you see, we don't talk about abuse towards the man ever, really, right? But there is verbal abuse. There is physical abuse towards men. Every kind of abuse that a man can give to a woman can give to a man. Verbal is probably the worst you could do to me. You can make me feel like nothing, have zero self-confidence very quickly, right?
It happens a lot.
It does. So the unconditional love, the well-intentioned, I should be doing that, I'm well-intentioned. But it's interesting as well, though, that when you read that book, that we have instances of people who wrote letters to him who said, I wasn't getting what I was needing, but I did this and turned them around. And they have an incredible marriage. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, but there's another side to it, too, of pouring into this, and there is a reciprocation. We even talked about it already today, that your wife probably may have not been doing those things, but when you did those, I got a positive response. And so this unconditional side of things, this makes us feel uneasy because what are we taught about respect?
It's gotta be earned.
Got to be earned, right? I taught that to my son. I taught that to my daughter. And you earn respect by being what? How do you earn respect? Huh?
Punctual.
You know, she's sitting right here. You know, I told my daughter, if you want to move up in the ranks, it's not hard. Show up. Number one, show up. be a good worker, manners make the world go around. It's ridiculous. Yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, sir, and how far that will get you, right? So that's that respect. We're teaching that respect, teaching that honor. You earn it by the things you do and the kind of the characteristics that you have. And so that has been ingrained in us. But this is when we come to this, in this aspect of marriage, it's one of those, well, I need him to first love me, then I will respect.
You know, I had a hard time with the example. I think he used the example that I'm about to talk about in this, talking about unconditional respect, where he said, he used the story about, I had a hard time reading this with him. I mean, it just doesn't feel right when, what happened when the man came home and lost his job, and she said to him, well, it doesn't matter as long as we love each other. And then he turned it around and said, what happens if the mother loses a child? Then you turn around and say, it doesn't matter as long as we love each other. Well, that's, to me, I mean, I don't know. That's just, I understand where he's going with that, but that just seems hard. I know respect is very important. I don't know if I would go that far.
Okay. Yeah, he even says it in the book. He even says, we're kind of comparing apples and oranges there. But he takes an extreme on that to try to demonstrate for us to get through our thick skulls of how we treat our wives. Even smaller things than that could really, where we're not pouring that love in. But yeah, he does take that extreme. I didn't like that example either, because I'm kind of like, but let's talk about conquest, because you're kind of moving into that right now. What is conquest talking about? The scene, we'll talk about this today. What was he talking about in the book? What was his main thing? What about men? We need to work. We need to work, right? He uses an example in the Bible, but we enjoy our work. What is the very first question I'll ask a guy that I meet? What do you do? Now listen, does everyone do that now? Well, the answer is yes, right? Now be really honest with me, guys. When you ask somebody what they do you then compare yourself to their job and what they make and what they do for a living?
100%.
I had 100%?
Yes.
Yes? Hey, I'm going to tell you something. This is what I do as ministers, okay? This is very bad. I'll meet another minister. Where do you minister? I minister in Podunkville, Texas. First question I ask out of the box after that. You know what I ask? What do you think? What do you think I ask? How big is it? Because my church is bigger than your church. Right? And now, I know that sounds dumb. I totally compare myself like that. How big is your church? Do you know who I also throw into the mix every single time? The guy sitting right over there. Our song leader is the WT choir director. What do you got? His backup is another choir director. His backup is better than anything you got still. And I got 4 of them. And then the choir director's kid's probably better than your guy. But do you see what I'm doing? Why do we do that, guys?
Makes sense.
It's establishing a pecking order and
Okay.
a hierarchy again.
Okay.
For establishing it.
Absolutely. Go ahead. What he said?
Internal validation.
Internal validation. So we're talking about this and we're having fun with it, right? We're laughing, right? So, wives, what are you hearing? Not just the jokes, not the jokes. What are you hearing?
Question, why is this conquest turned into a contest?
That's what men do. I'll give you another example. Friday, I swim. I'm in the pool at 6:08 this Friday. Billy, are you here? Billy? John, what's his last name?
Barnes. John Barnes.
Burns. Do you guys know John Burns? He's the assistant something to the city. Whatever. I was feeling good. I feel better in my cardio. So I'm swimming, and I'm keeping up with John. This is a big day, Billy. Big day. No, we're not at that level. But I'm keeping up with this guy. What do you think John did in the pool? Yeah, he did. Now I'm thinking, did I just slow down? I said, I think I'm going slower. I slowed down, so I sped up. You know what did John do? Well, at this point, my cardio has not caught up, right? So I have to slack off. I'll be honest, Billy, when I get close and we're swimming side by side, do you know what I do? I speed up. We have a mentality, ladies, that we compare. How important then is this? How important is work to us?
Like if you ask a guy, a man,
Yep.
tell me about yourself, the immediate answer is what they do.
Yes.
If you ask a woman what they, tell me about yourself, they'll say, I have 2 kids.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So what does work do?
Work, your personality. Yeah, it's a definition.
It's a defines. What do you mean by personality? Go with that for a second.
Like you have pride in what you do.
Okay.
That's what you think about because you're there so long. Like constantly think about hopefully how to improve. Like that it defines you in such a way that you can't even picture yourself without work.
Right.
You like to think your job and you are the same person, and that's why when you lose your job, it feels like your whole life.
Yes.
You like to think it plays into your strengths as an animal.
Okay, that's really good too. That was my next dash. I didn't know how to put that dash. If you told me that you're an engineer, automatically, what do I know about you?
We work on railroad trains.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking like, so my father was an engineer, okay, metallurgical engineer, okay? When he started in college, the professor said, look to your left, look to your right. Those guys aren't going to be there when you graduate. And he was right. 1/3 of his class graduated. It's pretty smart stuff, right? So that tells you something about my dad. Personality, his mind. What was this?
Well, it's not just with your spouse, it defines, because Jay got fired 2 weeks after we got married. And when I tell the story, it's like, because he came home, he told me he was fired, and he left to go find another job. Literally home, 3 minutes gone. And I'm like, whoa. But when he tells the story, it's like, tell me how you tell my father-in-law 2 weeks after I married his daughter, how I'm going to take care of her. And so that was, the stories were 180 degrees different because of his position in the male world. So,
Guys have got to be really careful about tying their ego up in their position. One of the best quotes I have from a very distinguished general in the Army was, don't get your ego so tied up in your position, but when your position falls, your ego falls with it.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree that we don't need it. That's not our full definition. It should be with God and such. And I hear you. Anything else there?
I like this quote in the book from Tim Allen. I thought that was pretty funny, where he said men feel like they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And they either work or go to jail. That's what Tim Allen.
When did Tim Allen go to jail?
Car theft.
Car theft? Oh, before he got famous. Okay. I was like, wow, how did I miss that? Santa Claus went to jail?
it started at 18. You can see it, elementary school teachers can see it on the playground from kindergarten. I mean, it's the conquest and the hierarchy and the authority. They have to be able to work it out. And when we take a lot of that away, when we take recess away, when we take all those open-ended times away, they don't learn how to work it through and deal with it.
Yeah, good. Okay.
John, it's identity, you know, when my husband died, then I didn't just work as a second job for our family. I was the breadwinner.
Right. Okay.
And then I went way farther than I ever expected. So when I retired, I was like, I'm not this anymore. It's hard.
It is. Yeah. It's our identity.
You lose a child,
Uh-huh.
and it's like self-esteem.
Sure. Yeah, our self-esteem is is wrapped into that.
For the men and the women.
Yes. So, wives, what I want you to understand here is how important is this aspect for a man.
Well, I will say when he's had jobs and careers that haven't been his favorite, but he currently is thriving in the one that he is. And as a wife, it is so enjoyable to see him so happy in what he does. Happiness isn't everything, but to see that fulfillment is very rewarding, even as a wife. And then it's a lot easier to encourage. I mean, he's got to go on a work trip this afternoon, and I don't like it, but I know he's providing for us, and so it is very fulfilling as a wife to encourage him to continue to provide in a way that is enjoyable for him.
Okay. My wife asked me a question. We were listening to this and we're talking about this, and for me, she asked me, what am I going to do in so many years? Where do you see yourself? And we talked about that a little bit and such, but she said, John, is there a difference for me saying, I appreciate you? I appreciate you going to work. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you doing that. Is there a difference? Because he talks about this, right, in that chapter of the wife saying to the husband, I respect you for what you're doing for the family. Remember, there was a note that a guy got in his lunchbox or whatever it was, or in his briefcase, or those moments. Is there a difference between the word? I'll tell you my answer in a second. Is there a difference between the word I appreciate you, and he talks about this, or I respect you? When it comes to providing, this is what we're talking about, providing for our family. Is there a difference between saying the words, I appreciate you, to respect you? I have a yes, so you want to continue on that, if you want?
Appreciation is always nice, but respect is a deeper reward.
A deeper reward, okay? I just want to make sure they heard what you said, that's all.
Yeah, it's more like, to me, respect is the number one thing that I want. And I would rather have that more than appreciation.
Okay.
Or kudos or anything.
Fist bump.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I can appreciate people without respecting them. I really can. I
Okay.
can appreciate the person that sets my table, that drops the floor in the restaurant I go to.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I can appreciate someone without really respecting them. I heard something over here.
I said, appreciate to me is, I like it, but it's almost just saying I love you in a different way.
Okay, so it's like saying I love you, but in a different way. Anybody else? Yes?
I like to be appreciated if he wants to be respected.
Okay.
So like, I will be appreciated for what I do in the house, and he wants to be respected for how he provides.
Okay. So for God,
To me, appreciation is kind of like, well, you're trying, and respect is like you're doing.
that's actually really good.
It may not be the way it's meant.
Right.
It may not be the way it's meant.
Right. No, I'm with you.
That girl that says, no, I like you, versus the girl that says, no, I love you too.
Yeah.
The difference between like and love is the difference between appreciation and respect.
So when your wife, potential wife, says for the first time, I love you, and you respond, you're one in a million, not the same thing. And I really like what you're saying. You're really bringing this out now. And I told that to Sally. That's a true story. Yeah, don't tell everyone. But yeah, I didn't know where I was in the relationship, okay? I was there, but I didn't know. I was really working through a lot. I told Sally, I was like, thanking me for all those things makes me feel really good. And I do appreciate that. I go, but that word respect, there's a deeper meaning for me. And he talks, there's a way. So he talks about the respect test. Did you read that? The respect test. I want to encourage you to do it. All right? I encourage you, wives, to do the respect test. And if you want to share what happens, great. But I want you to try it. Go for it and just see what happens. And here's the thing. We know it's coming. We're all sitting in the same room. But what does it mean for my wife to say, I respect what you do. I respect that you are trying really hard to provide for this family, and I love you for that. That meant more. I like what you said, Coop, that there's richness there, and there's something deeper there than that superficial, like you're talking about, that everybody was saying you can appreciate but not respect. Good try, but you're really doing it. And you know what? You might be doing things that you really don't want to do in life. And I need to know that my wife has that deep affection for me. I remember when I worked in a factory, we built lockers for schools or wherever, and I was in the press shop. You know what I did for 8 to 10 hours a day? I took a little piece of metal, I put it under a machine, I hit this little push button, it came down, it bent it, and I put it in a pile. I hated my job. I was up at 3:30 in the morning for summer hours, and I worked all day. I hated it with a passion. But you know what? My wife said, thank you for getting up at 3:30 in the morning, and I respect what you're doing. I know you hate this job, but this is just a time in our life. I respect you for what you're doing for the family. That meant more to me than anything else. Okay, I need somebody to pray for our marriages. Who wants to do it? All right, Coop, you're up.
Pray. Gracious and loving Father, God, we just thank you for Jonathan and for his church and for all these people in this class. God, thank you for allowing us to discuss our marriage openly, Father, because we know that you've given this to us as a gift and a way for us to see truly what you desire in a relationship with us, Father. Marriage is the closest thing that we can have to that relationship with you, Father, and it's a blessing. Father, marriage isn't easy. It takes a lot of work. We all know that in this room, Father, and we just thank you for giving us the open-mindedness and willingness to do that work to improve our marriages, Father. And we thank you for the many blessings that each of us are seeing in our marriages as we walk through this class, Father. You are good, you are holy, and we are not worthy. We thank you for teaching us through this class what a holy marriage should look like. We do all this, and we thank you for everything you've given us in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. God bless, guys. Great job today.